You're listening to CFRN, the Christian Financial Radio Network.
Good afternoon, traders, and welcome back to the CFRN Emini Futures Cast. This is the daily broadcast of Indeterminate Length, where we discuss all things Emini, along with some really big ideas on the finer points of trading gold, bonds, crude, sugar, the euro. Joining us today, Mr. Michael Borth. From our trading desk in Chicago, Mr. Burton Schlichter. Now, to get things started, let's go to our host and founder in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Here's Dwayne.
Good afternoon. Welcome back. Today is Wednesday, 21st day of December 2022. If you don't have your Christmas shopping done by now, just hang it up. Anyway, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for joining us. Whoever you are, wherever you are, we're just glad to have you right here, right now. We actually do 2 live broadcasts every trading day. The first live broadcast is from 9:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Eastern, but that broadcast is reserved for members only and those who are taking their 1-week free trial. If you've not taken your 1-week free trial, when Michael comes on in just a little bit, he will show you exactly how to do it. No credit card required. And I promise you it will be like no other trial you've ever taken. For 5 consecutive trading days, you're going to have access to every tool, every resource, every class, everything CFRN is will be at your fingertips for 5 consecutive days. So before you spend a dime, we invest our time and our resources in you so that you can figure out if you have what it takes to become a trader and if what we do is right for you. Only then do you make that all-important decision as to whether or not you should invest in yourself and your trading future. Now, this broadcast, the second broadcast of the day, is open to the public. Everybody, everywhere on planet Earth with an internet-connected device. A telephone, a tablet, a PC, a Mac. We're not picky. Now, there's 2 different ways to join this afternoon broadcast that is open to the public. I'm going to give you the best way first. And you only have to do this once. Go to mytradingiq.com. Scroll down to where it says afternoon broadcast. Click the link, complete the 30-second registration form, and then every trading day going forward, whether you become a member or not, every trading day going forward, you'll get an email right before the afternoon broadcast. In that email, there will be a link. All you have to do is click the link and it will automatically log you into our platform. Now, the reason I say that's the better way is simply because it gives you access to the question box so that you can ask questions and participate in the discussion. Now, the second way to join the afternoon broadcast is to take that internet connected device and point the browser to our YouTube channel, which is pretty easy to remember. It's youtube.com, you already know that part, /CFRN. youtube.com/CFRN. Not only do we broadcast live every afternoon on our YouTube channel, we also archive every daily broadcast. Currently, there are over 2,100 daily live broadcast archived for your educational and viewing pleasure. And if you're new to the world of CFRN, it's a really good way to kind of get to know who we are, what we do, how we do it, even why we do it. You can scroll back 6 weeks, 6 months, a year, 2 years, even more. Because what we do and say today, well, how do you know that's who we really are? So that's why I invite you to scroll back. Pick days at random, okay? Certainly don't expect you to listen to all 2,100 daily broadcasts that run on average a couple hours each. But pick days at random. You're going to find that a year ago, 2 years ago, we're using the same language, the same underlying principles, the recap of the live training room, the recap of the logic alerts, the concierge trade alerts. None of that has changed. If it's not broke, you better leave it alone. Now, as we do every day, we're going to open with prayer. And this week, we're talking about 5 life lessons from the book of Ecclesiastes. If you've read Ecclesiastes, you know it's the story of King Solomon, who was given the ultimate gift by God. God told Solomon, choose anything you want, and I'll give it to you. Now, Solomon gave a smart answer. He could have asked for gold, could have asked for a harem, but what did he ask for? He asked for wisdom. Man, that seems like a really wise choice. But if you've read the book of Ecclesiastes, well, I don't want to spoil it for anybody, so but those of you who've read it, you know how it ends. So today's verse is Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verses 16 through 18, and I will be reading from the Message translation. I said to myself, I know more and I'm wiser than anyone before me in Jerusalem. I've stockpiled wisdom and knowledge. What I've finally concluded is that so-called wisdom and knowledge are mindless and witless, nothing but spitting into the wind. And as you know, you don't tug on Superman's cape and you don't spit in the wind. Verse 18. Much learning earns you much trouble. The more you know, the more you hurt. Again, that was Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verses 16 through 18 from the Message translation. When I first met my mother-in-law, before she became my mother-in-law, over 40 years ago, she had a saying, the more I learn, the less I know. And man, that perplexed me. I didn't want to say, of course, you know, I just chuckle like, oh, boy, you're sure right. But in my mind, I'm like, what the heck does that mean? Over time, I came to understand. Now, this is day 3, life lesson number 3, if you will. True wisdom is found in God. Wisdom. We all yearn to have this valuable asset. But where do we find it? We look for wisdom and knowledge and experiences, yet we can still make poor life choices that lead us where we don't want to be. It takes good judgment to know what direction to take and the ability to see life from God's perspective. Proverbs 1:7 tells us that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. But fools despise wisdom and instruction. Now, the word fear, as it's used in Proverbs, means having deep respect, reverence, and awe for God's power and authority. It doesn't mean being scared of Him. The fear of God is foundational to finding true wisdom, and we will all have the wisdom that comes from heaven when we have a right relationship with God. King Solomon confessed that even he, the wise teacher, had found it difficult to act and think wisely. Thus, although he devoted himself to learn, explore, and grow in knowledge, he ultimately concluded that this too was chasing after the wind. He further concluded that the more we know, the greater our grief would be. Because human wisdom, knowledge, reasoning, and philosophy are worldly and incomplete. We cannot fathom the many unanswered questions that remain God's mysteries. But we can find true wisdom in God and in His Word. In James 3:17, we read that God's wisdom is pure, peace-loving, considerate, submissive, full of mercy, impartial, and sincere. God's wisdom leads to harmony and peace and guides us in living the very best life possible. On the other hand, human wisdom is often prideful and self-centered. On what kind of knowledge do you rely? If you lack wisdom, ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and He will give it to you. That's James 1:5. Join me in a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you for this honest assessment of living life in this fallen world. Without Christ, keep me from chasing after any of the vain things that this world offers, knowing that there is nothing on earth that has lasting value except to know you. May I place you in the center of my life today, knowing that the whole duty and delight of man is to worship and praise you for your goodness and your grace to all men. It's in Jesus' name that we believe and pray, and everybody said amen. Let me give you the numbers from around the world. I'm going to start here in the U.S. with the cash markets, or the indices as they're called. Then Michael will pop on and give us a recap of what happened in the live training room. And then after that, I'll come back and we'll take the big picture look at the markets, the beginning of this Santa Claus rally, as the markets call it. And of course, we'll go over the Logic 247 alerts, the concierge trade alerts, everything we cover each and every day. And of course, we'll take a look at the top 10 headlines of the day. Right now, the Dow is up 479 points, almost 1.5%. The NASDAQ is up 140 points. That's over 1.25%. The S&P 500 is up 50 points, again over 1.25%. And the Russell 2000, our man of the street, up 32 points, almost 2% on the session. In the commodity basket, crude oil up $1.96, trading 78.19 last. That's a gain of 2.5%. Gold up $1.90, trading 18.2730 last. Silver basically unchanged on the session, down a penny, trading 24.26 last. It's after we had that huge $5,000 per contract move yesterday or either the day before. We'll see it when we go to the charts. In the Asian markets at the close, Nikkei down 180 points, Shanghai down 5, the Hang Seng up 65. And in the European markets at the close, FTSE up 126, almost 2%. The DAX up 213, 1.5%. And the CAC up 129 points, which for the CAC is a gain of just over 2%. So we had a mixed day in Asia. It was a green day in the UK. So far, it is a big green Radio Wednesday here in the US of A. So with that, if Michael's ready, we'll go to him and get that recap of everything that happened in the live training room. When he's done, I'll be back. We'll cover all the other stuff I mentioned. But at any point during the broadcast, whether Michael's on or I'm on, if you have a question, just type it in the question box. Don't be shy. Nobody sees what you type except myself, Michael, Valerie, Bert when he's in. So if you have a question about something we say or do, it's foreign to you, maybe kind of goes against something you've maybe heard or learned in the past, go ahead and pipe up. We're not here to judge you. We're here to help you. And the best way we can help you is when you ask questions. Michael, take it away.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Wednesday, the 21st day of December, 2022. Now, if you have not taken a free trial with us and you want to take a free trial with us, go here to mytradingiq.com. Right here, it says sign up for your free 5-day training session now, 9:30 to 11:30. Now, if you're doing this right now, because we're in a holiday week, you're going to get your 5 days. It's just going to be spread over a couple of weeks. So just sign up and you'll get your 5 days. All right. When you do that, you're going to be brought to a registration page where all we ask for is a little bit of information, and we'll send you everything you need to get into the room in the morning. There's only 1 day left on this registration page. We're going to create a new one that will cover the following 5 days. Okay, tomorrow and all of the days of next week. All right. That said, let's get into the spreadsheet. It was a pretty slow day today. The markets were kind of slow, and I made one mistake this morning. But either way, if you're going to read the spreadsheet, you have to read all the CFTC risk disclosures down at the bottom. Today is the 21st day of December, 2022. We made 18 ticks in crude, 18 ticks in gold, and we lost 10 on the ES. That put us at plus 235 in the morning session. Today, it took 63 minutes and 5 trades to get to the goal for the day. At that point, we're up 160, and we took a total of 9 trades. So 63 minutes today. That took a long time. Anyway, on the month, that puts us at $10,590 a contract. That's over 15 trading days, averaging 706 per contract per 2-hour trading day. On the year, we've gotten our goal every day, 241 out of 241 days so far. Those are business days now, and we've gone 302 business days since our last negative day in the room. So on the year now, that puts us at $235,936 per contract per 2-hour trading day, averaging $978 per contract per 2-hour trading day during the morning session. Okay, that's just during the morning session, $978 on the year. So this is where you want to be right here. If you are consistently profitable and you get your goal every day and you quit trading when you get your goal. If I were to quit trading when I got my goal and added 1 contract a month so far this year, I would have only had to work 43.16 hours, and I would have averaged $4,747 an hour during the year. Okay. Now that does not mean I'm going to sit down and make $4,747 an hour, but this morning it took me an hour roughly to get my goal for the day. At that point, I was up $160 a contract. So if I had 12 contracts on, then it would have been $1,700, $1,800, something like that for that 1 hour. On the month so far, we've worked about 4.5 hours getting our goal, and we are at $21,420 for those 4.5 hours. So that's how that works out. Okay, it's averaged out over the month. All right, now let's get into what we actually did do. Okay, in gold, there's not a lot to go over in here because there just weren't a lot of trade setups. You know, gold made this huge run up here without giving a trade setup. It gave one right up here at the very top, but we waited for the pullback and we didn't get another trade setup after the pullback. When it started to move down, we were able to take a couple of trades here. We took the first trade here on gold was 5 ticks, and then we had 13 ticks right there. That got us to plus 18 on gold on the morning session. There was nothing since then. Look at this. This is for the last hour right here. Nothing. It's only about 10 bars. Nothing. On crude oil, we started out in this huge range right here. And there were a bunch of red off of reds and blue off of blues in there that triggered, and they all pretty much worked out. But I didn't want to take any of them because I wanted to get out of this range. We were just going sideways. There was no real good trend to go off of. Then finally we did get a trend. We broke out up here, and there was one trade right here that I missed. This was right before the crude inventories came out today, or right as the crude inventories came out today is when it broke out right here. We waited a few minutes, it turned down, and then we finally grabbed our first crude trade here. We picked up 16 ticks on that. We missed the follow-up trade, and we grabbed 2 more ticks there to get us to 18 on the crude. Then it got really sideways and flat in here. Now this little spot right here, from here to here, now there's no time element associated with these bars. So from right here, from 1049 on this bar right here, all these few bars all the way over here, that was 5 minutes. That took forever to make those 5 minutes, and price went nowhere. 3 more minutes, price still went nowhere. So all these bars were all in 10 minutes it took to do just that few bars, and price went nowhere. It did start to move up, but there was no trade there. It did start to move down. This was a head fake to the downside, then a failed move to the upside. Then it finally did commit to the downside, but we were out of time. That was it. During the break, there was nothing blue off of blue or red off of red here. Crude oil just didn't give us anything else, and that was crude today. Now the ES, I'll show you where I made my mistake. It was my first trade of the day. It was right here. I went long right here. Now the green line was all the way up into the cycle, and I probably should have bought my stop to break even, but I didn't, thinking I was going to have a lot more opportunities, and I didn't. But it came back down and stopped me out pretty much to the tick, and then it moved back up to the point where I would have moved my stop to break even. But I got in on the second move right here, and I ended up with a break even on that. Then I picked the 10 ticks up back here, so I was at break even all the way through here. So I took another break even trade right there half an hour later. Then all the way here to just about the end of the session, I went long right here, and it stopped me out minus 10 ticks. That was where I ended it with the ES. During the break, there was one red off for red right here. That was actually not really during the break, and it wasn't really in context either. I didn't do that. Then in here, it did kind of get into context or got into the trend. It looks like during the break, there was one red off a red right here. That would have stopped out, I think. It didn't go 4 ticks into profit from 3,900. No, 3,901. It did go 4 ticks, exactly 4 ticks in profit. So I don't know. You might have gotten out of there at break even. I don't know. The next one was over here, and that was a break even trade. And that was it. There was really not a ton of opportunity today. Okay, so I'm happy to get out positive. And there were a lot of guys that got their goal early on this morning, and good on them for getting the goal early on and quitting. I was suggesting that to anyone that got their goal early today. Let me see who all is in here today. Okay. Well, today is, if you're going to read the spreadsheet, you read all the CFTC risk disclosures down at the bottom. Today is the 21st day of December, 2022. We made 18 ticks in crude, 18 ticks in gold, and we lost 10 ticks on the ES. That put us at plus 235 on the morning session. Today, it took 63 minutes and 5 trades to get to the goal for the day. At that point, I was up $160 a contract, and I took a total of 9 trades this morning. So on a month now, we're at $10,590. That's over 15 trading days, averaging $706 per contract per 2-hour business day. We've gone 241 out of 241 days so far this year getting our goal, and 302 consecutive business days since our last negative day. So on the year, that puts us at $235,936. It's over 241 business days, averaging $978 per contract per 2-hour business day. So the goal here is to get you to ramp that up, and then it would be more like this number right here, the 1.4 million. But you gotta learn how to do this first. Get your goal consistently get your goal day after day, and then work your way up one contract at a time. That's what this is right here. If you can get your goal, if you were to quit trading when you get your goal every day and add one contract a month, if you were to do that just like I did, you would have only had to work 43.16 hours so far this year. That's the whole year, 43 hours. And you would have averaged $4,747 an hour on the year. Okay. All right. Now, if you've not taken a free trial with us, go here to mytradingiq.com, and right here it says, sign up for your free 5-day training now, 9:30 to 11 Eastern time. Click on that, and you will be brought to, I think it was this page right here. Just fill out this little form. Once you fill out the form, you'll be sent everything you need to get into the room in the morning. All right. That's it. That's all you have to do. All right. If you're going to sign up for the trial, you should go in here and download the trading platform, especially if you're doing it right now before a long weekend. Download the trading platform so you have the charts over the weekend. You can review things. Go in here and watch trade rules. Go over the trade rules. Print this out. Hang it in your Christmas tree if you want. It is kind of a gift. Hang it in your Christmas tree if you want. And watch the videos. These videos are real-time live videos of me actually applying those rules to the markets and taking profit. Do all that and be ready for your trial. All right. All right. That's it, guys. With that, I'm going to pass it back out to fabulous Phoenix, Arizona in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Dwayne, if you are ready. You must not be ready yet, or you can't turn his microphone on. One or the other. Hang on. Okay. All right. Well, Dwayne's not ready yet. So what I will do now is look over here on gold and show you, when I talk about things in context, what I mean is the short-term trend. Now, I've gone away from using the word trend because we use the word trend in a lot of different ways, and I think that people have a tendency to confuse it, right? But what I'm talking about is the short-term trend, right? The context that you're currently in the market. Price goes up and down, up and down, up and down, and it should not exceed this level on the pullback. All right, if it does exceed that level on the pullback, then the context is probably changing. But what you anticipate right now is a move up. So right now, if you got something right here suggesting it's going to go down, you can take it. It'll be a little bit more risky, but you can take it. What you would expect, though, is that it's going to go down and go down to here if it does happen. But what I would be thinking is that we're going to bounce off of this level right here and probably make a move up. This is in this time frame, in the 7-tick range. Now, if you were to bump over to like a 20-tick range, the context is different. All right. Right now, you're in a bunch of chop. Really, you're not in anything that you'd really want to trade here on the 20-tick range. So that's basically, it says right here in the 7-tick range. Just be careful when you get down to this time frame. Go for the easy and obvious. All right. Don't try to force any trades. All right. And let's see. I have something that has shipped. All right.
All right. Sorry I was late.
That's okay.
That's
okay. Well, you can take it anytime if you want.
Okay. Well, if you're getting ready to explain something, go ahead.
No, well, I just did. I was just showing how the context is right now on the crude oil. How it was up, down, but it made a deeper pull back right here. But it's still in context to move up right here.
It didn't take out that previous swing low right there.
Right here. Correct. And so the context is still up. It should move up right here. If it were to move down, it's not going to be an easy and obvious trade. It's going to be a trend line trade with separation down here in the slingshot. What you'd be looking for is for it to take out this swing low first and then this swing low. If you were to take that trade, but I'd be waiting for the long trade right now.
I concur. Copy that.
All right.
What I say. Okay. Let's do this thing.
There we go.
Okie doke. Recap of the recap.
Today is 63 minutes. Wow. In 5 trades to get to $160 a contract.
Now that's per contract, guys.
That is one contract.
Once you go through the process of learning the methodology and the strategy, and you qualify to go live, you're going to go live with one contract. That's why we train in the room with one contract. Okay? But over time, as you follow the blueprint, you'll add additional contracts with profit you earned in the market. So what Michael did this morning, $160, by the time you've earned your way to trading 10 contracts, that would be $1,600. Okay? It's not about more points. It's about being consistent with the ability to take 2 points out of the S&P or the equivalent in some of the market and adding contracts over time. So you never have to worry about taking more than 2 points or the equivalent in some other market. And then you've got not only money, above average earnings, but you have freedom. Now, money is a renewable resource. Time is not. So the fact that you can earn an above average income once you learn how to trade and have the freedom to travel, work from any place in the world that has a fast, reliable internet connection, it's a powerful, powerful combination. So, again, on the morning, Michael, good job.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, guys, we will now jump to the Logic 247 recap. If you're new to the world of CFRN, not only do we train you, teach you our methodology and our strategy and how to use our indicators, but at the same time, we're giving you trades around the clock, because the futures market trades around the clock with a 1-hour break every day, Monday through Thursday. Today is the Wednesday session. The Wednesday session will end at 5 p.m. Eastern this afternoon. And there's a 1-hour break. They got to sweep the floor, empty the ashtrays, and then tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern, the markets will reopen. And that will be the beginning of the Thursday session, even though it's still Wednesday night here in the U.S. And then the week ends Friday afternoon. It starts Sunday night at 6:30 p.m. and ends Friday afternoon at 5 p.m. Eastern. Now, we're in week 229 of Logic 247. Over those 229 weeks, we've issued over 12,900 individual handcrafted alerts. Just this week, since the markets opened Sunday night, we've issued 64 alerts. 3 never triggered. We're still waiting on the outcome of 5. So we've had 56 actionable alerts so far. And out of those 56 actionable alerts, 7 or 12% would have been stopped out based on not risking more than $300 per contract per trade, less when possible, using market structure and a very simple 3-step process that I teach all of our new passport holders in their unlimited private one-on-one mentoring sessions. So we have all the hallmarks of a great week. Over the 229 weeks, we've averaged 20% or less of the alerts being stopped out based upon that maximum risk profile that I just explained. Now that doesn't mean we risk $300 on every alert. No. We use market structure to determine where our stop goes, and we use our 30-minute chart to determine what the potential profit is in the trade. And the alert itself shows you the potential profit in the trade from the entry to the initial target, which is designed to give you your goal for the day, and then any potential resistance overhead or a long trade. That will be target number 2, and target number 3, and sometimes number 4, until we get to the final trade 2 target, which on a long is the weekly zone above, and on a short is the weekly zone below. So we're below the 20%, which we've averaged 20% or less over 229 weeks, over 12,900 individual alerts. So I want you to really think about that for a moment. When you become a member, not only will you learn our methodology and strategy and how to read the indicators, but while you're learning to fish, we're going to provide you with fish around the clock on a daily basis. This is a key number. This is a key number. This number should always be 1/3 or less than this number. So if we multiply 4 times 3, that's 12. So we're well below 1/3 of that number. So by the grace of God, we're on to another great week here at CFRN. Now, for those of you, again, who may be new and have never actually seen a Logic 247 alert, allow me to show you just what a couple, we're not going to go through them all because there's been so many this week. And the reason there's been so many this week is because market conditions have been good. Here we are, week 229. The first alert out of the gate Sunday night. Now it says 4:14 here because I'm on Mountain Standard Time. And that's the way Telegram works. It's going to display whatever time zone you're in because Telegram reads the clock on your computer and displays the time in your time zone. So the market opened Sunday night at 6 p.m. Eastern. So it was 6:14 p.m. Eastern when I put out the first Logic alert, because I put out the concierge trade alerts first, as I recall. And so what is this alert telling you? Well, number one, it's telling you that it's alert number 12,890. It's for the ES. The idea was to sell 38.66 with an initial target of 38.64. That's 2 points. That's your goal for the day. At that point, you can simply put the mouse away and go do life. Then on the way down, we knew there was a potential obstacle or a support level at 38.58. PS means potential support. So you've got initial target, second target, third target, final trade 2 target, the weekly zone below. At the time the recap was done, price had dropped to 38.56 1/4, which put it right between the second and the third target. Okay? That's what these numbers up here are about. So from 38.66, a drop to 38.56. That's 10 points. At $50 a point, that's $500 per contract traded. So as a trader, you have the option to stay with the trade until the chart tells you it's time to get out. Okay? Or you can just take your goal for the day, walk away with a big smile on your face, come back the next day, rinse and repeat. Now, not everybody trades the ES, though most people do like the ES because it provides great liquidity around the clock, no matter what time of day you're trading. If you have a day job and you're only able to trade in the early evening or around midnight, or London opens at 3 a.m. Eastern, and then things really start to pick up as we head into the Wall Street Open at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. Remember, futures follow stocks, not the other way around. Because it's called futures, you would think that that's predicting what's going to happen in the future with stocks, but it's not. These are indices, so they're a reflection of what has happened with the trading of stocks. The second alert to come out 2 minutes later, Sunday night, was to be short the Dow at 32,990. At 32,970, there's your goal for the day. And then the next target or potential obstacle was at 32,890 at 8:30, and then the weekly zone at 32,760 / 32,765. And as you can see on the alert, the first time Valerie came through to do the recap, we had dropped to 39.24, and I'm sorry, 32,924, which puts us almost down to this one. And then price continued to drop, and so the final recap she did on it, price was at 32,792, which put us just above the final trade to target. So from 990 to 830, that's 160 points at $5 a point. Or you could have just taken your goal for the day and walked away. On the Russell, we wanted to be short the Russell at 1765, initial target at 63, next target at 61, next target at 57, from 65 to 57, that's 8 points at $50 a point, $400 per contract traded. That's if you stayed with the trade. Again, you could have just taken your goal for the day and walked away. NQ was also a short at 11,300, and we dropped to 11,212. A 100-point move in the NQ at $20 a point is worth $2,000 per contract traded. When you see the little Z's, that means that trade never triggered. Then we had a long on gold, then we had a long on silver, we had a short on the euro, we had a short on bonds, and then we had a long on the ES, and a long on the Dow, and a long on the Russell, and a long on the NQ. And that was all Sunday night. Okay? Now, I'm not going to go through every individual one, but I'll scroll through. When you see a red X, that's one that got stopped out. Okay? Valerie is very meticulous when she does the recap, and I can never thank her enough, because I'm going to tell you, because I used to do it in the beginning myself, the recap part is more work than actually putting together the alert and publishing it. There's another stop out on the Russell. There's a stop out on silver. There's a stop out on the euro. Then we had a no trigger on the Russell, a no trigger on the ES, a stop out on the ES, long on the Dow. There's a stop out on the Russell, stop out on the NQ. These are ones we're still waiting on. This was a long on the ES, Still waiting, and still waiting. So, when you're on the trial, you'll have access to the Logic 247 alert trial channel, which means you get the alerts live in real time, just like our members do. When you're on your trial, you have access to everything that a lifetime member has access to, except the members only workshop on Thursday night. You also have access to the discussion group, you get the weekly trading zones, you get the CTAs, and of course you get the Logic 247 alerts. The CTAs are published in the alert trial Logic 247 channel. And speaking of the concierge trade alerts, that was our original alert service many years ago. And since we started publishing them, nothing's changed. Last night, the alerts came out at 6:35 p.m. Eastern. The Globex market, remember, closed yesterday afternoon at 5, and then at 6 p.m. it reopened for the Tuesday session, or for the Wednesday session, even though it was still Tuesday night in the U.S. at 6:35 p.m. Eastern. Now this is really important. Target first, entry second. And we're talking about these numbers here. Once price trades above or below a CTA number, it will most likely trigger multiple times. It is far better to get your goal for the day on the way to the CTA number than to wait for the number to get to the for price to get to the CTA number. Now, let's say that run-up happens when or while you're away from the computer, sleeping, whatever the case. Once price trades through one of the CTA numbers, it will most likely trigger multiple times. So we got you covered 9 ways to Sunday. Now, what are these numbers all about? I'll tell you. We use the ES as an example. When this report is published in the Telegram channel, you want to make note of where price is at this time, 6:35 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be between these two numbers. So on your 30-minute chart, make a note of where price was. Because from that point forward, if price gets above the BBC and starts trending up towards 38.67, that's bullish. So our strategy will look for opportunities to be long the market. On the other hand, if price gets below the BBC and starts trending down towards 38.31, then our strategy will start looking for opportunities to be short the market. In either case, that's where you're going to use Logic 247 and everything you learn in the live training room every trading day to yourself start finding opportunities to be long or short the market. Now you probably don't trade all these markets, but you treat each one the same, whatever market you trade. And you will also draw a line in the sand at 38.67 and a line in the sand at 38.31. It's a target first and entry second. When we go to my 30-minute charts in a few minutes, you'll see what my line in the sand looks like. You can make your line in the sand look, you can customize it to look any way you want. So anybody that doesn't have the numbers because you're not a member or you're not yet on the free trial, if you want to grab a screenshot, I'll give you a second to do that. Okay, got it. All right then. Let's Let's move on. Oh, all right. Okay, Michael, thanks. Okay. Before we go to the charts, I've got 10 things that you need to know today, December 21st, 2022. Coming into number 1, courtesy of USA Today and the New York Times, the old gray lady. The powerful House Ways and Means Committee voted Tuesday along party lines to release some of former President Donald Trump's tax returns. Isn't it just so interesting that almost 2 years now since the man left office? Who dominates the headlines? The current president or the previous president? That's a rhetorical question. Republicans called the move partisan and threatened to retaliate against Democrats, including President Biden. Democrats said releasing Trump's tax returns serves the public interest, as the Internal Revenue Service did not audit Trump as required during his first 2 years in office. Well, whose fault is that? The audit only started when Congress requested Trump's returns in 2019. Now, Representative Richard Neal, Democrat from Massachusetts, said this was never about being punitive. Well, what was it about? Trump paid $1.1 million in federal income taxes in the first 3 years as president, but none in 2020 as his losses mounted, according to data the committee released. And that's why the left, now I'm done with the article and I'm just going to throw some opinion out, okay? That's why the left is so bent out of shape, is because suddenly a president had taken office that they couldn't buy. They couldn't pay off because he already had money, enough money that he did not need to listen to the special interest groups or the lobbyists. He was able to simply be the president. Now, with all that's been said and all of the evidence that's been presented in the case of Hunter Biden, isn't it interesting that those income tax returns have not been requested by any committee? Or maybe there's a committee that has requested them, but you haven't heard about it in mainstream media, have you? Coming in at number 2, courtesy of Reuters, Ukrainian President Zelensky said he was traveling to Washington on Wednesday to meet President Biden about boosting Ukraine's resilience and defense capabilities and address Congress. It is believed to be his first trip overseas since Russia invaded its smaller neighbor in February. Biden is expected to announce a nearly $2 billion military aid package that will include a Patriot missile system intended to help Kiev defend against Russia's ongoing series of missile strikes across Ukraine. The visit will underscore the United States' steadfast commitment. Now, that means your tax dollars in supporting Ukraine for as long as it takes, including through the provision of economic, humanitarian, and military assistance. That came from White House Press Secretary, that statement, Karine Jean-Pierre. Number 3. Courtesy of the Washington Post and the Wall Street Journal. The Senate yesterday unveiled and voted to start debate on a bipartisan $1.7 trillion deal to fund federal agencies through September of 2023 and avert a potential partial government shutdown this weekend. The omnibus spending package includes funding for President Biden's economic agenda, increasing money for the military and $44.9 billion in additional aid for Ukraine and America's NATO allies. Some Republicans are pushing to delay a final deal until early 2023, when the GOP takes control of the House. Other lawmakers from both parties, recognizing that this is the last big piece of legislation of this Congress, pushed to add stalled initiatives from improved pandemic readiness to a ban on TikTok on government devices to help get it passed. Well, if you ever wonder why taxes are so high as a U.S. citizen, and I'm not just talking about the taxes on your return that you send in every year on April 15th. That $4 a gallon gasoline, that's a tax that you pay every time you fill up your pump. That $6 carton of eggs at the grocery store, that's a tax on you, the American taxpayer. Well, it's just inflation. Yeah, it's inflation, the highest in 40 years. But it is literally taxing our economy out of existence. So how does the Fed solve this? By raising interest rates. It's now more difficult to buy a house or a car or anything that requires a loan. As a result, the value of homes themselves are dropping, and those borrowers who somehow got themselves into a variable interest rate loan, whether it was initially or later as a HELOC, and those HELOCs aren't always real clear that it's a variable interest rate. And even if it is, when you took that loan, we were in a period of historic low interest rates. You know, down, the Fed funds rate was practically zero. I think it stayed a quarter point above zero, which meant borrowing was very cheap. And many people did. And many didn't realize that even their car loan had a variable interest rate. And so with, 4 consecutive 3/4 point hikes and then a 1/2 point hike, some people are finding they can no longer afford to make their mortgage payment. Others are finding they can no longer afford to make their car payment. Great way to heal a fragile and broken economy. And if that doesn't take you out, then the fentanyl streaming across the southern border just might. There's probably no one in this audience who doesn't know someone who died of opioid overdose, specifically fentanyl, in the past year. In the past year, more people have died of fentanyl overdose than every American soldier who gave their life during the Vietnam War. Conflict. And what's being done to stop the problem? Absolutely nothing. This is a crime against humanity. It's a crime against the American people. And it's going unchecked. Number 4. USA Today. A magnitude 6.4 earthquake struck Northern California yesterday, killing at least 2 people and injuring 12. The quake was the strongest the area had seen in years. It cut power to tens of thousands of homes and businesses around Humboldt County. Now, anyone who knows anything about Northern California, and specifically Humboldt County, that's where they used to grow the good stuff. And many still do, even though it's legal in California. It's got to be grown somewhere. So you can apply for a license and you can have a grow farm, you know, if you get picked in the lottery. Or you head out into the deep woods of Humboldt County and set up your grow farm. Now those guys are losing electricity. The plants probably aren't looking so good right now. But more importantly, 2 people lost their life. And any life lost is one too many. So our hearts and prayers are with the people who died and were injured in that earthquake. Now, a 6.4 is pretty strong. If I'm not mistaken, it's right around, or even it's right around what back in history destroyed San Francisco, where everything came tumbling down and they literally had to rebuild the city. But this area in Humboldt County is sort of a remote area, so that's why there was less damage. But again, power has been lost to tens of thousands of homes and businesses. The people who died had medical emergencies during or right after the trembler, making it difficult for medical personnel to get to them quickly. The deaths were the first in a California earthquake since a magnitude 7.1 hit Ridgecrest in the northern Mojave Desert region in 2019. One of the reasons we left California, because that's where I met my wife when I was a young man. She had to come back to Arizona to take care of an elderly grandmother, but my intention was always to move back to California, but she began to be worried about the earthquakes, and there's even a country song, I think, about how someday Arizona will be beachfront property. Number 5 from Reuters, the Taliban's higher education ministry on Tuesday suspended women's access to Afghanistan's universities. Let that sink in. Especially if you're a woman, or married to one, or have a mother, or have a sister. Denied education because they don't have a penis. The Taliban administration, which took over as U.S. and other foreign troops fled the country in 2021, leaving behind $1 billion of high-tech military equipment, told public and private universities in a letter to shut out female students immediately and until further notice. The move came as the representatives of the United States and other countries met at the United Nations Security Council in New York to discuss Afghanistan. The U.S. has said policies to protect women's educational rights are among the reforms necessary for the Taliban to win formal international recognition. They already have international recognition as merchants of death. Also on Tuesday, the Taliban released 2 Americans who had been detained in Afghanistan. Well, thankful for that. In this day and time, we'll take what we can get, right? Coming in at number 6, I hadn't read this yet. from the Washington Post. The DEA said Tuesday it had seized more than 379 million potentially fatal doses of illegal fentanyl in 2022, enough to kill everyone in the United States. Now, in case you don't know how this works, okay, the raw chemicals are made in China and are shipped to Mexico. Now, this is no conspiracy theory, this is just the truth. The raw chemicals are shipped from China to Mexico to the pill pressing plants. It's these plants they set up out in the jungles. And they have these machines where you take this pure fentanyl, which even the tiniest grain has killed police officers, until police officers learned that when they went to the scene of an overdose or potential overdose or any drug-related crime, they had better wear gloves, because we lost some of our officers to fentanyl overdose, not because they took the drug, because they touched somebody who had the drug on them. That's how powerful it is. And because it's so powerful, the tiniest amount of pure fentanyl will kill you. And so as it's shipped into Mexico, into these laboratories in the jungle, it's haphazardly mixed up with some other components, fillers, so that they can press it into a pill that looks like the oxycodone your doctor may have prescribed you, or even the OxyContin your doctor subscribed you. It's even got the little M on it, like Malcroft. Now, if you know what you're looking at, you can tell a fake from a counterfeit. But most people, especially if they're in withdrawals, they don't care if it's real or counterfeit. They don't care if it's actually oxycodone or OxyContin or fentanyl. They just want the sickness to go away. There's a docuseries, The Big Sick. You've never seen it. You should. The DEA has confiscated more than 10,000 pounds of fentanyl powder and 50.6 million illegal fentanyl tablets as of mid-December, twice as much as it grabbed in 2021. The seizures came as Mexican drug trafficking organizations, or the cartels as they're known, increased their smuggling of the synthetic opioid over the border. And drug overdose deaths continue to rise in the U.S. Mexico's Sinaloa and Jalisco cartels are blamed for much of the deadly fentanyl trade. The fact that our administration allows it to flow freely over the border, are we working hand in hand with the cartels as part of the Destroy America plan, also known as DAP? I just made that up. Number 7, from CNN. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau on Tuesday fined Wells Fargo a record $1.7 billion for widespread mismanagement that hurt the holders of more than 16 million consumer accounts over several years. The regulators said the bank misapplied loan payments, illegally repossessed vehicles, foreclosed on homes when it shouldn't have, and charged unexpected overdraft fees, among other illegal activity. The CFPB also ordered Wells Fargo to provide more than $2 billion in compensation to affected customers. The CFPB's director said in a statement, Wells Fargo's rinse-repeat cycle of violating the law has harmed millions of American families. Millions. you probably heard, I don't know, it's been probably 2 years ago, that branch managers and even assistant branch managers at many Wells Fargo locations were incentivized to get you to open a line of credit or get a credit card. Well, some of those managers and assistant managers found that they could do it without your approval. You might not even ever be aware of it. They've got all your information, your birth date, your social, everything. And so all these lines of credit were opened for unsuspecting people. Now, as a result, these managers and assistant managers received a substantial bonus every time they opened one of these fake accounts. Although they weren't fake, they were real. And if a person looked on their, and you should, I'm going to tell you a great site, karma.com. No, I'm sorry, creditkarma.com. It's with a K. Credit, K-A-R-M-A, creditkarma.com. For free, you can get your credit report. And every American is entitled to get a free credit report every year. Many banks now offer it as a service, and it doesn't show up as a hard pull on your credit report. It just helps you know that nobody somewhere has stolen your identity and opened an account in your name with your social security number without your approval. If you've not checked your credit report this year, get after it. Go to creditkarma.com. There are other sites, but that's a site I know and trust. Or just log into your bank that you use, and you may see over in the margin, check your credit score. And it won't show up as a hard pull, so it won't negatively impact whatever your credit score is, but it will keep you aware of what's going on. And credit is very important. Okay? You need to fly somewhere, you need to rent a car, you need to book a hotel room, you need a credit card. So, and to find out that maybe somebody has stolen your identity and bought cars and houses and all kinds of things, it can take years to unwind that and to prove that you're not actually the guilty party, because you sure look guilty because they had all your information. If you're not using Malwarebytes on your computer, you should. Okay? Now, Windows Defender, that is the Windows antivirus program built into Windows 10 and also Windows 11, I think. The computer I just got my wife for her birthday has Windows 11. I haven't had a chance to play with it and see how much different it is from Windows 10. That is sufficient, and it gets regularly updated, so you don't have to worry. But there's still some holes, and that's where Malwarebytes comes in. Go to their site, malwarebytes.com, and if nothing else, take the free trial and do a deep scan of your computer, because there could be some zero-day Trojans lurking in there. I mean, your computer's working fine, it's fast, everything's, but there's a ticking time bomb inside. And one day, you're going to get the blue screen of death, or it's going to install a keylogger, which means every time you type something, it gets sent across the internet to the evil Dr. No and his undersea lair. This is serious, folks. People have had their lives destroyed. People have even stolen people's tax refunds, because if you got their name and their social, You can file a return that makes it look like you have a $10,000 refund coming. The IRS just cuts the check. And then when you go to file your taxes, they go, wait a minute, you already filed your taxes and we already sent your refund check. I personally know someone who got hit that way. You just can't be careful enough. The internet is powerful. It can be used for good or evil. It's just like a $100 bill. Whether you use it to build a dirty bomb or feed a hungry child, the look on Ben Franklin's face never changes. Number 8 from the New York Times. Elon Musk said Tuesday he will step down as Twitter's CEO as soon as he finds a successor, someone foolish enough to take the job. The announcement came 2 days after he conducted a poll on the social media site asking his 122 million Twitter followers to vote on whether he should resign. And I'm really surprised. A 57% majority responded yes. Haters gonna hate. Musk completed his $44 billion purchase of Twitter in October, promising to make it a haven for absolute free speech. Since then, he has faced a backlash over unpopular content moderation policies, including brief suspensions of several high-profile journalists. In announcing his plans to find a new CEO, he tweeted that after he resigns, he will just run the software and server teams. Now, he'll still own the company. Remember, Twitter's a private company. Elon bought it with his own money. And we talked the other day about the journalist who had been banned for promoting other social media sites with links on Twitter. And I gave you the whole talk about, fish off another man's pier kind of thing. But there is more backlash as well from the government. Tesla's never been profitable. Do they make a great car? Yes. Does it have a zero carbon footprint once it's built and operational? Yeah, pretty much. Has the government provided, loans and grants and things to help Tesla grow? Yes. But now Mr. Musk has put himself in a tight spot where the government that once fed him has turned on him. So, number 9, from BBC News and Reuters, a German court on Tuesday convicted Irmgard Furchner, a 97-year-old former secretary for a Nazi concentration camp commander during World War II, of complicity in more than 10,500 murders from 1943 to 1945. A former secretary. 10,500 murders. Although Furchner was a civilian, the judge in the case said she knew about the killings at the camp, where about 65,000 people died of starvation or disease or were killed in a gas chamber. The victims included prisoners of war and Jews targeted in the Nazi extermination campaign. Furchner was the first woman prosecuted for Nazi crimes in decades. She was sentenced to a 2-year suspended jail term. Now, she is 97. So, and come in at number 10, which is often the sad one of the day, from CNN. Terry Hall, lead singer of the influential British ska band, The Specials, has passed. He was 63. I'm 63. When you read that, ugh. Boy, does it make you aware of your own mortality. And it should make you want to make every day count. Because we got no promise of tomorrow. The band confirmed. We do have a promise of eternity, though, and that's a good thing. The band confirmed the news in a statement shared on its social media accounts, saying Hall died after a brief illness. The band remembered him as our beautiful friend, brother, and one of the most brilliant singers, songwriters, and lyricists this country has ever produced. Formed in 1977, the UK band released songs like Ghost Town and Gangsters. Two songs I'm not familiar with. I might know them if I heard them. Hall joined soon after its inception to replace vocalist Tim Strickland. The band was also known for its staunch opposition of racial injustice, something that we also staunchly oppose. Hall later formed Fun Boy 3 and released several solo albums. Hall, before reuniting with the Specials in 2008, at which point the band released a new album, Encore, in 2019. So our thoughts, our hearts, and prayers are with the family and friends of Terry Hall. And that's the 10 things you need to know today, December 21st, 2022. Off to the charts we go. We always start with a daily chart. Why? Because the institutional traders, the hedge funds, the Goldman Sachs of the world, they look at daily, weekly, and monthly charts the way you and I look at 30-minute charts, 5-minute charts, tick charts, and range charts. Why? I'll tell you why. Size matters, apparently. You see, their accounts are denominated in hundreds of millions and billions of dollars, whereas our accounts, you and I, are more likely to be denominated in thousands and tens of thousands of dollars. So when a billion-dollar fund decides they want to go long the market, price is going up. And when they reach a crucial inflection point where they realize no matter how much they buy, they can't push price any higher, they hit the pause button. And when they hit the pause button, those funds that specialize in short selling come out of the woodwork and drive the market down. We've been in a downtrend since March 29th. That was the day the high was put in. We've made numerous attempts to break out of the downtrend, and every one has spectacularly failed. The low of the downtrend so far, put in October 13th, at a price of $35.30 and a quarter. So what's happened most recently is we made another attempt to break out of the downtrend. Now you'll notice the price, as it pulled back to the BBC, it held. It holds more often than it doesn't. Here, 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 here. Now that applies not just to the daily chart or just to the S&P. Price flows the same across all markets and all time frames. From the futures markets, to individual stocks, to cryptocurrencies, to forex pairs. Price flows from support to resistance, back to support, back to resistance, over and over, again and again. It is a never-ending cycle. We don't trade news. We don't trade fundamentals. We are technical traders. Okay? Now, what does this chart tell us? Well, it tells us that this last run-up to 4180 failed. We did not make it to the 62% reverse fib. We closed that day back below the 50% reverse fib, and then that night at 6 p.m. Eastern, when the markets reopened, there was an attempt to continue higher, which failed, and eventually put us back below the BBC. Okay. Now, while the pullback holds more often than not, this one held for days, we know eventually, every market, every time frame, that price will trade through the BBC. That's what keeps the markets fluid and tradable. What does BBC mean? Simply means bull bear cross. When price crosses above that green line, we anticipate higher prices. When price gets below the green line, we anticipate lower prices. Higher prices, lower prices, higher prices, lower prices. The other indicator you see on the screen, the red and blue one, that's called the CFMA1. We had to give it some kind of name. I just refer to it as blue and climbing, red and falling. So whether you're on a daily chart, a 30-minute chart, or whatever chart you're trading on, if price is above the BBC and you have blue and climbing, then you should be looking for long positions. On the other hand, if price is below the BBC and you have red and falling on your screen, well, that's when you should be looking for opportunities to get short. Now this black line, it's called a step line. It used to look like a set of steps, but I got tired of looking at that and I just smoothed mine out and made it a smooth line. You can do the same. When price is moving down and that step line crosses over, that's an indication that price is going to attempt to pull back to the BBC. And then as the downtrend resumed, you'll notice you got price, step line, red and falling. Look what happened when price again crossed over from the left side to the right side of red and falling. We pulled right back to the BBC where the pullback held. And then as we started heading higher, okay, it's the reverse. You've got price, step line, blue and climbing. Notice what happens when the step line crosses from the left side to the right side of blue and climbing. You get a pullback to the BBC, which held. Remember, it holds more often than not. Okay? So, today, where are we? We're right here. We made it down to the 38% fib extension. We almost made it to the 24% reverse fib. Now, remember, the institutions are watching daily, weekly, and monthly charts. And so as price approached this 24% reverse fib, which is not proprietary information, it's not a proprietary indicator. Anyone with a trading platform has access to a fib drawing tool and a fib extension tool. If your platform doesn't offer that, then you need a new platform. Whatever you do, don't spend 20 grand to buy software that will draw the fibs for you. Okay? In a couple of one-on-one mentoring sessions, I can teach you how and where to draw your fibs and fib extensions. And then that 20 grand you didn't have to spend, you could just mail me a check, I don't know. Or use it for the purpose of trading. Okay? Now, price came down. We didn't quite make it to the 24% reverse fib because institutional buyers recognized. See, the last time price came down to the 24% reverse fib, what happened? Bam! And so are institutional traders going to wait for price to get all the way to the 24% fib before they step in? Well, based on what happened last time, no. Remember, they can handle a deeper drawdown than you or I because of account size. And they can stay with a profitable position longer than you or I can because of account size. And that's what we saw here. Now, On this day, this was a red candle. I mean, we're talking yesterday. We had a red candle coming down, headed for that 24% reverse fib. But then the institution stepped in, erased that red candle, leaving a wick in its wake, and actually closed the day with a green candle. Now, in the proper context, this candlestick formation is powerful. It tells you to anticipate a rally. And what are we seeing today? Pretty strong rally. Okay, where's the resistance? Red and falling. As you can see from the wick, price poked its head above red and falling for a minute. Now it's pulled back. Now this time of day in the markets is a little quieter than the Wall Street Open or a couple other times of the trading day. So as they come back from their 3 martini lunches, will the buyers resume buying? Or have they recognized they've hit that point where no matter, this is our volume on the day, right down here, 962,462 contracts, okay? It's pretty decent volume. We'll definitely finish the day over 1 million contracts. If buyers resume buying after lunch, then the next obvious resistance overhead is the 38% reverse fib. And then above that is the daily BBC. That's the big one. Possible, if price can overcome the high of the day and the 38% reverse fib and the BBC, well, they're going to run into trouble right here at the 24% fib extension. And if they can somehow get through that, then there's resistance at the 50% reverse fib, at the high of December 14th, and then the high of December 13th. Now, no matter what market you trade, whether it's the S&P Emini or crude or gold or silver, Amazon or Walmart, Bitcoin or the British pound, when you sit down to trade, the first thing you should do is spend 2 minutes looking at the daily chart of whatever it is you're about to trade. Because the market's always right. And the market is always right based upon institutional buying and selling. So, doesn't it just make sense to look at what moves the market and see where it's at, what it's doing, what it's trying to do, what obstacles are in its path? Take some notes. Again, this is just 2 minutes. Then you go to your 30-minute chart. That's my roadmap. I told you earlier there's over 12,900 individual Logic 247 alerts. Every one of them is a trend trade as defined by the 30-minute chart and the BBC. If price is above the BBC on the 30-minute chart, then all the logic alerts are going to be long. If price is below the BBC on the 30-minute chart, then all logic alerts are going to be shorts. Very simple concept, right? Now notice the very thing I showed you on the daily chart. Remember, what we teach and every tool we provide is fluid across every market, every time frame. 1 minute chart to monthly. Futures to stocks to crypto to forex. Okay? As price was coming down, look what happened when the step line crossed from the left side of red and falling to the right side. We pull back to the BBC, just like on the daily chart. You see, the markets are fractal in nature. People, you've probably heard that said, but then they didn't bother to explain to you what it meant because they probably didn't know what it meant either. They were just parroting what they heard somebody else say. Let me explain what that means. Price flows the same across all markets and all time frames. What I just showed you on the daily, it's true on a 30-minute. So then we get another down move, and then this price finds support at the weekly trading zone. Okay? When price rallies up to a zone, we expect resistance. When price drops to a zone, we expect support. Support. And when price, only three things happen at a weekly zone. The most common is consolidation, as you see here, here, here. That's about 70% of the time. The second most common is what's called rejection. And that's when let me find. Remember, this is only 20% of the time, so I gotta look and find one. Okay, this 30-minute candle came all the way down to the weekly trading zone, but by the time the 30-minute period was over, the only thing left touching the zone was the wick. That's price getting rejected twice back to back until it finally managed to trade through on the third attempt. So three things at a weekly zone. 70% of the time consolidation, 20% of the time rejection, and 10% the slice. When price slices through a zone like it's not even there. What typically happens let me find a typical example. Remember, we're only talking 10% of the time. Price slices through a zone like it's not even there. When that slice runs out of steam, it will typically retrace to the zone it sliced through and then continue in the direction of the slice. We've published the zones for our members since December 14th of 2009. So that's 13 years of data on how price behaves around the zones. Now, as amazing as the zones are, and once you learn how to use them and how price behaves around them, they're going to become one of the most powerful tools you have in your trading toolbox. But what's even more amazing is the fact that over those 13 years since we started publishing the zones, the way price behaves hasn't changed any whatsoever. There are very few constants that you can find in the world of trading. I just explained one of them to you. All right. The list of CTA numbers from last night that I just showed you a little while ago and encouraged you to take a screenshot in case you didn't have the numbers because you're not a member or you're not on a free trial. I said the best idea is to get your goal on the way to the CTA number rather than after. But once a CTA number gets pierced or triggered, then there's a greater probability that it's going to trigger multiple times than not trigger multiple times. Important prices, important areas are almost always tested. So this was the opening candle last night at 6 p.m. Eastern. Now, the zones came out last night at, I told you, 6:35, I believe. So, The zones came out during this little candle here, which 5 minutes into this candle, which ended up being a doji. Price retraced to the BBC. The pullback held at blue and climbing. And as we started to print a green candle, you could have come in at 38.60 and grabbed your goal at 38.62 before you ran into what you might expect to be resistance. Okay, this high could be resistance, this high could be resistance. So is this green candle? You're above the BBC, you're above blue and climbing. The step line is above blue and climbing. Everything is telling you expect higher prices. So yes, you can wait for price to get there, or you can just grab your goal on the way to the CTA number and put your mouse away because you're done for the day. Now, I hear this all the time in one-on-one mentoring sessions. And some of you in the audience today are probably thinking, you know, every time I make money in a market, I give it back. I start out having a good morning, I'm up X number of dollars, but by the time the session closes, you know, I'm at break even or deeply in the hole. Well, ask yourself, once you reached your goal for the day, had you stopped, would you not have ended that day on a positive note? You see, along with having a definable edge, a strategy, a methodology, and indicators that actually tell you something meaningful, you need to have confidence. And the only way you're going to gain the confidence you need to be a consistently profitable trader is to build a string of days where you went positive. We're only talking about 2 points here, okay? This candle, it actually opened at 38.58, put in a high at 38.66. That's an 8-point candle. If your goal is 2 points a day, there's 4 days right there. But some people have a problem putting the mouse away once they get there. They want to get rich today. Well, I got news for you. That ain't going to happen. Okay? You can build a trading business that is consistently profitable over time. But if you want to get rich quick, you're better off buying a lottery ticket. I'm serious. Now, price ran up to the target. Remember, target first, entry second. So this candle did trade through, and we put in a high at 38.76. That's 9 points, $50 a point, $450 per contract traded. Now, that doesn't include this, where you've already got your goal and walked away for the day. I'm saying if you waited, even the open of this candle was 38.64 and a quarter. So there was 2 points available even in this candle before you got to the CTA number. Once we hit the number, then we run up and traded through the number. We added another 9 points. $450 per contract traded. When you become a CFRN member, you're going to receive what's called the 24/20 blueprint. You're not going to start trading real money right away because you haven't learned the strategy yet, okay? It's a very simple strategy, and the indicators are very simple and easy to read, color-coded for your convenience. The blueprint is going to instruct you to put together 10 consecutive days in a row in the simulator in your demo account before you actually go live. Okay, you need to prove to yourself that you understand the strategy and how to read the indicators. Otherwise, you're just throwing away money. Haven't you had enough of that already? I would think. So, follow the blueprint. Put together those 10 consecutive days in Sim. When you get your goal, put your mouse away. You're not only learning how to get your goal for the day, you're learning how to put the mouse away. Okay? Once you've done those 10 consecutive days where you reach your goal in 10 trades or less, the blueprint will give you the green light to go live with one contract. Now that you're trading real money, your goal is to increase your account balance by $2,000. Once you accomplish that, the blueprint will then give you the green light to add a second contract. The big difference between the first contract and the second contract Alright guys, I'm seeing a no audio in the chat box. So if you're listening via YouTube, your audio's fine, but as all of you regulars know, we've had a lot of issues with GoTo in the past. So if you're on, in fact, let me see if Valerie is still logged in. She is. Okay, so to restore my audio, I'm going to log out and log back in. In fact, for those who are staring at the screen, alright, I'm back. Chances are you can hear my audio now. Somebody in the chat box, let me know if you can hear me now. Okay. Thank you, Daryl. Thank you, Randy. Appreciate that very much. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner, guys. I'm going to just keep my question box open so that I see when the audio drops sooner. But if the audio drops and I'm obviously not seeing the note that you've sent me in the question box. You can always just go to your browser, go to youtube.com/CFRN, and the live stream is still going with audio. The audio issue is in GoTo. And I keep saying I'm going to get one of their technicians to log into my computer and fix whatever the issue is. Or it may be the issues on their end, and hopefully it gets fixed. Because it's a little aggravating, but hey, that's life. Okay, so we pull back to the BBC. Remember, the pullback holds more often than not, like it did here, and here, and here, and here, and here. Okay? And here. But, now, is the move up to the target valid? You betcha. But would I trade when price moved through the target? No way. Why? Red and falling represents resistance. See what it did? It literally pushed price below the BBC, but the pullback held. And as we came back above the CTA number, red and falling turned back to blue and climbing. So maybe you would, wait for price to get above these swing highs and enter around 38.72, expecting that price is going to at least trade at this high, 38.76. And where did it trade to? 76.5. So again, you're above the CTA number, you're above the BBC, you're above blue and climbing, you're above the step line. Now, these highs are a potential obstacle, so you want to get above that, like 38.72. These highs are potential obstacles. If you look at the horizontal line on my cursor, you'll see that resistance became this resistance. But plenty of opportunity to get your goal for the day there, again. And then you pull back to the BBC, the pullback once again holds. Then we get another leg up, okay? And it was on this candle that we turned from red and sideways for a minute. That red is a reflection of this pullback, okay? And then as we begin to rally, this time, you might wait until you take out this previous resistance at 38.76, and you get in at 38.78. Well, from 38.78, this candle took you up to 38.82. 4 points. If it goes 2 points a day, you're in tall cotton. It continued up to 84. Then we get another pullback. We pull back to the BBC. We don't go back below the CTA number again, because the pullback holds. The BBC has gotten above the long trigger. Remember, back over here it was below. But as the market continues to climb, this is just how markets move. Leg, retrace, leg, retrace, leg, retrace, leg. Doesn't matter what market you're in, what time frame you're in. That's how price moves. It rarely moves in a straight line. Now, if you look at a daily chart or even a 30-minute chart, like this looks like price moved in a straight line. But I assure you, if you go look at your 7-tick range chart or a 5-minute chart, you'll see that this wasn't a straight line. Okay? And so on this move, we ultimately made it to the final trade to target, which on a long is always the zone above, on a short, the zone below. So if we had triggered on the short side, the final trade to target would have been here. The obstacle to the trade would have been this low right here. Okay. So not only did we reach the trade to target, which from 67 to 87, that's 20 points. At $50 a point, that's $1,000 per contract traded. Now remember, the blueprint's going to tell you when it's time to go live with one contract. You're going to add that first contract with your startup capital. Then you're going to increase your account balance by $2,000, and you're going to add your second contract, not with your startup capital, but with profit you earned in the market. That's the big game changer right there. You're on your way to building a profitable trading business. We're not just teaching you how to trade. We're also teaching you how to run a trading business. In that 24/20 blueprint, you're going to get instructions on how to write your business plan and how to write your trading plan. 9 out of 10 new traders who fail, and that's a rough statistic, but I'm sorry to say it's a fact of the markets. Futures Magazine wrote this article back in 2006, and they say the statistics have only gotten worse. Now, when I read that article, I had just switched from trading stocks to trading futures. So I wasn't exactly excited about that article, but it piqued my curiosity because they didn't say why. They were just spitting out statistics. So I embarked on a journey to find out why. Because, I mean, the Navy SEALs don't have a 9 out of 10 washout rate. I quickly found the answer. All these people didn't have a teacher. Oh, they bought a course. They bought some books. They watched some YouTube videos. But none of that is a replacement for a live teacher in an interactive environment, 2 hours a day, and around-the-clock support 24/7. You just aren't going to find that anywhere else. So 9 out of 10 new traders fail. Number one, because they don't have a teacher. Number two, they don't have around-the-clock support. Number three, they don't know they need a business plan. They don't know they need a trading plan. In fact, many new traders will just treat it like, a weekend junket to Vegas. Well, let me roll a dice here and see what happens. That's not what we're going to teach you. We're going to teach you rules. And if you follow the rules, follow the formula, follow the blueprint, it increases the odds of you becoming the 1 out of 10 astronomically. Now, I wish I could promise you that just buying a passport is going to make you the next great trader, but that would have to make you laugh, I hope, if I told you that. Because even though we give you the knowledge and the tools to do the job, we don't know what you're going to do with what we provide to you. Are you going to use it properly? Are you going to invest the time and energy to learn how to read the indicators, how to view multiple time frames? Those are questions we can answer. I know I can teach you how to play baseball, but I certainly can't promise you're going to pitch for the Yankees one day. Anybody who makes you that kind of outlandish promise that if you buy their indicator, their oscillator, their algorithm, their whatever, that you're going to make $24,793.18 before breakfast in your boxer shorts, run in the opposite direction, because they're more interested in your money than they are in you. And so, again, one of the things that separates us from the pack, and it is a pack of wild dogs out there, I'm telling you, is that before you invest any money becoming a lifetime member, we invest our time and our resources in you. by giving you 5 consecutive days where you learn the strategy, the methodology, get to use the indicators, use the zones, use the alerts, everything, and have one-on-one mentoring sessions. We're investing in you so that you can make a well-informed decision if you're willing to invest in yourself. Sounds pretty fair, huh? So, back to the 24/20 blueprint. The blueprint's going to tell you when it's time to add contract number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 10. It stops at 20 because, hopefully you got the hang of it at that point. Now, you should never feel compelled to increase your account size. If you get up to 5 contracts and 2 points a day is making you $500 a day, if that's a comfort zone for you, don't feel pressured. When the blueprint says it's okay to add number 6, don't feel pressured to add number 6. Add number 6 when you feel comfortable adding number 6. If you stay at 5 for the rest of your life and make $500 a day for the rest of your life, yeah, for most people that will cover their monthly expenses, and even, maybe you get to go out to dinner once or twice a month. If you continue adding, per the blueprint, 1 at a time and only with profit you earn in the market, when you hit 10 contracts, those same 2 points that made you $100 a day now make you $1,000 a day. So what we're presenting here is an opportunity to not only make an above average living, but to have the freedom and time to do the thing God created you to do. We all have different callings. We all have different giftings. But guess what? Ministry costs money. Go try to feed a hungry person with no money. Go try to house the homeless with no money. Go try to clothe the naked with no money. Get my point? Now, how has the Christian culture handled this dilemma over the years? I'm almost ashamed to say. But they go and stand in front of corporate America, non-believers, JP money sacks, with their hat in their hand, shuffling their feet and their hand out. You're God's child. Your Heavenly Father owns all the gold, all the silver, the cattle on 1,000 hills, and the hills themselves. Do you really think He wants you begging from a potential non-believer or a company that does business in countries where there are no human rights? No, He doesn't. Okay? So back to ministry costs money. If you're gonna build an orphanage or build a church or fund some kind of ministry within your church, you're gonna have some money. It's got to come from somewhere. Okay? Now, there's 2 ways to make money. The right way and the wrong way. I'm not going to get off into any Zen principles here, but those of you who are familiar with them, you'll know that that's one of the 4 and part of the 8. Okay? The principles are so aligned with Christianity, but they don't believe that Jesus was literally the Son of God and He died on a cross for our sins. But morally, they're still good people, but being a good person doesn't get you into heaven, okay? Jesus said it himself. Ye must be born again. And Nicodemus was freaked out. He says, man, how am I going to crawl back into my mother's womb and get born again? And Jesus said, that's not what I mean, Nick. That was the original Nick at Night, because he came to Jesus in the cover of darkness because he didn't want the other Pharisees and people to see him. Jesus said you must be born of water and the Spirit. If you have children, and if you were in the delivery room or you were at home with your wife when her water broke, okay, you must be born of the water and of the Spirit. Now some will preach, well, the water part means baptism. Okay, you know, why don't we have an argument over that? Why don't we get in a fist fight on Twitter? Or not? Why don't we just focus on learning how to have the money that it requires to be in ministry? So, by the time you reach 10 contracts, those same 2 points a day. Now, when you were trading one contract, it probably took you 30, 45 minutes to grab your goal for the day. Some days you'll get it on one trade. That's awesome. You shouldn't expect that. But if you never get it on one trade, then you need to book a mentoring session, because something's amiss. Some days you'll work longer than others. It takes as long as it takes every day. And that's the mental attitude you need to have when you sit down to trade. Well, I'll be here putting on, taking off trades until I reach my goal for the day, period. Can you do that? Do you have the self-discipline to do that? Do you have the patience to do that? Can you control your impulse to keep trading because you're on a roll? Remember what happened all those times that you ended up, after being up, at break even or in the hole. There's power in putting the mouse away. And go do life, man. You can work from anywhere on planet Earth that has a fast, reliable internet connection. Not only do you have lots of time for your family and your ministry, who knows, you might even get a hobby. Maybe you become a woodworker, or you start going fishing, or playing tennis. I was in an interview the other day. The church we attend here locally, CCV, when you volunteer to be a volunteer, they put you through a pretty rigorous application and interview process, because they want to make sure when they hang that lanyard around your neck that you're actually somebody they can trust. And so, well, that's how it should be. While it was painstaking to, go through all the details and whatnot, is it worth what comes out the other end? Yeah. And with trading, you got to be willing to do the work to get to the point where you can sit down, get your goal, and then go do what you're supposed to do. It was during that interview process that the gentleman, great guy, if you're out there listening, shout out to Curtis. He goes, what are your hobbies? He had to go through this list of questions. It's just a requirement. And he got to the one, what are your hobbies? And I was like, Curtis, I think I need to get a hobby. He goes, you don't have any hobbies? I go, I like helping people. I enjoy my work. I enjoy being able to take care of my family. I play tennis? No. Do I go fishing? No. Do I go hunting? Don't want to. They always, all the self-help books say you need to have a hobby, so I don't know. Maybe someday I'll sail around the world. I don't know. But for now, I'm focused on you. So those 2 points that it took you, however much time it took to make $100 a day. Once you've earned your way up the ladder to 10 contracts, that's $1,000 a day. It's $250,000 a year. It doesn't make you a millionaire. It doesn't make you rich overnight. But it puts you in the top 3% of wage earners worldwide. To become a member, here's where you go, eminifuturestrading.com. But if you want to see if there's anything left in Santa's stocking for you, you can call Valerie at 949-42-EMINI or email support@cfrn.net and ask. Just say, hey, on the radio, Dwayne said I should ask if there's any holiday specials. I don't get into the sales end of it, so her word is her word, so talk to her, okay? Now, along with the live training every day, as a passport holder, you've got access to the unlimited one-on-one private mentoring. That means you book a session, we show up, and for 45 minutes, we help you with whatever you're having an issue with, and we record it. And after the session, we privately send you the video in Telegram, in a private Telegram channel, just to you, so that everything that we talked about in the 45 minutes, 2-3 days later, you might not remember the answer to a question you had. So you have that video in your private Telegram channel that you can go watch again and fast forward up to the point where you ask the question that you've now forgot the answer to. The strategy you learn, the indicators you own for life, they're fluid across every market, every time frame. As a passport holder, you receive the Logic 247 alerts, the concierge trade alerts. Of course, you receive an invitation every Thursday night to the members only workshop, and much more. It is your all access pass to everything we do, everything we've ever done, and whatever we do in the future. When you become a lifetime member, we really do mean lifetime. There's no recurring fee, not monthly, not annually. There's no upsells. There's no new shiny objects to buy every other week. No nonsense. We refuse to insult your intelligence the way so many others do. It's all yours. For some of you, for less than what you've already lost in the market today. Just go here and check it out, or call Valerie. You'll be pleasantly surprised. We're not one of those groups that's so full of themselves that they want to charge you 20 grand or 50 grand or whatever nonsense numbers out there. We not only want to make this effective, but affordable for every person. So let's get back to the charts and wrap this thing up. We've only made it so far to the ES. To do the Dow, everything I've said about the S&P is fluid across all markets and all time frames. Here's the Dow. Now the S&P pays 50 bucks a point. The Dow pays $5 a point. So, same situation. Now these indices, you're going to go, man, those charts look a lot alike. Yeah, that's how it is with the indices. Here's the opening candle. Here's where the CTA numbers came out. Had a nice pullback to the BBC, just like we did on the ES. And then this candle here opened at 33,156 and ran to 33,219. about $250 per contract before you got to the target. And then once you hit the target at 225, you got a pullback, and then you pierced it. And remember, once it triggers, it's probably going to trigger again. You're far better off getting your goal for the day here. But if you want to wait for this, you can. Pull back to the BBC, the pullback holds. The only obstacle is red and falling. Okay? During this candle, we turn to blue and climbing. So as price is moving up, lots of room to get your goal for the day. Pull back to the BBC, the pullback held. And then we run right up to the trade 2 target. From 225 to 430, that's 200 points at $5 a point, $1,000 per contract traded from the published number to the published target. Unless you already got your goal for the day and walked away. Russell, it's pretty similar. Here's the opening candle. This is the candle where the numbers came out. Same pullback, just like the S&P and the Dow. And then it runs right up to the target. Goal for the day, and then some. So then we pull back to the BBC, and the pullback holds. But we run into red and falling resistance, which pushes price lower. But the pullback holds. These two candles are still touching the BBC. We get above red and falling, which turns to blue and climbing, and then off we go. Back up to the target again. Then as we trade through the target from 1771, we make it up to 72. Okay? Now, that's only 1 point. That's only 50 bucks. But back here, you could have got your goal for the day. Or back here. Now you got to take 2 trades, because it pulls back, does it again, pulls back, does it again. Okay? This one hits the trade 2 target, this one hits the trade 2 target. So once we trigger, there's a greater probability of triggering multiple times than not. Boom, boom, boom. And this one pulled back to exactly 1771. This candle, this little doji here. And so I'd be looking to go long on this candle as it took out these previous highs. Because from here at 79, it ran up to 91. 12 points, $50 a point. $600 per contract traded. If you've earned the right to trade 10 contracts, that's $6 grand over the course of an hour. Okay? So, is it worth exercising the patience required to learn this simple strategy? And do you have the self-discipline to keep your hand off the mouse until an opportunity presents itself, where you then execute on the 7-tick range chart, just like Michael and Valerie teach you in the live training room? You see, if you don't have self-discipline and patience, we can't give it to you, sell it to you, rent it to you. It has to come from within. God can help you with it. He can help you with anything. And I can help you with it in one-on-one mentoring sessions. I'll give you exercises to do, and I'll help you change the way you think. And those of you that come from a battle-scarred background, you've been trying for 10 years to make money in the markets, and all you've done is lost your money. Chances are you never had a live teacher 2 hours a day, or unlimited one-on-one mentoring, or around-the-clock support. Okay? That really makes a difference. All you got to do is just ask one of our members. They'll be happy to tell you. So we get above, we slice through this zone, huh? Then what happens? Price retraces to the zone it sliced through. Now it's attempting to continue in the direction of the slice, but we've got a little hiccup. What is that? Why is there a hiccup? Blue and climbing has gotten directly above price. See, this is how you want it to look on the way up. Price, step line, blue and climbing. But what happened right here? As price consolidated, that step line crossed to the right side. And so now the next window of opportunity may be the pullback to the BBC, because that's what this is telling you, and this is telling you. The price is going to attempt to pull back to the BBC. Now that would be a counter trend trade, so it won't show up in the Logic 247 channel. Of those 12,900 plus alerts in the Logic 247 channel, every one is a trend trade. In other words, if price is below the BBC, the Logic alert's going to be a short. If price is above the 30-minute BBC, it's going to be a long alert. So, I'm not saying I never take a counter trend trade, but if you're new and trying to learn to be consistently profitable, I highly suggest stay with the trend trade, that powerful wind at your back from the 30-minute chart as you execute on your 7-tick range chart. And then when you get to the place where you can't remember the last time you didn't get your goal for the day, if you want to start fooling around with counter trend trading, that's fine. It's not illegal, immoral, or fattening, okay? Now, right here, what happened? Why did price stop right there? All you gotta do is look left. But did that stop it? No. In fact, as this candle took out this high, which took out that high, 1788 up to 1790, 2 points, $100 per contract traded, $500 for the 5 contract trader, $300 for the 3 contract trader, $200 for the 2 contract trader. All right, gotta pick up the pace here. NQ. Yep, sure looks the same. Here's where the market opened. We pulled back. We ran up to the zone. We pulled back to the BBC. The pullback held. And we ran up to the zone. Remember, when we run up to a zone, we expect resistance. When we drop to a zone, we expect support, till proven otherwise. So we pull back, and we pull back, and we pull back, and we pull back, and then we launch. And as we take out these previous swing highs, goal for the day on the way to the CTA number. If you wait to get to 11,315 for whatever reason to enter, you'll be happy to know that it ran over the course of an hour up to the trade to target at 11,362, where we found a resistance. And the market is now consolidating. From 15 to 62, what is that? It's almost 50 points. 50 points at $20 a point is $1,000 per contract traded. Now, friends, if this was easy, everybody would do it. Okay? Trading is not easy, but it can be simple. If you have a teacher, if you have a business plan, if you have a trading plan, and if you have the self-discipline to follow the rules. Because your hand's going to twitch. It's going to want to click that mouse. Even though there's no valid trade set up in front of you, your hand is going to, you're going to have an itchy trigger finger. Okay? I'll work with you on that. We'll put your hand in one of those big oven mitts so you can't click the mouse. Okay? We'll do it for 5 minutes a day, then 10 minutes a day, then 15 minutes a day, until you get the hang of it. And I'm being totally serious. We'll do whatever it takes to help you overcome the obstacles that have haunted you in the past. The worst thing you could do is let your past define your future. Crude oil. Well, the market opened, pulled back to the BBC, ran up to the target. Same old story, eh? We pull back to the BBC and the weekly zone, that's support times 2, and then we run to the target. And then we pull back to the BBC and the zone, pull back holds, and again we run to the target. This move or this move or this move would have got you to go for the day. Or this move. And then once pierced, crude just kept going. It did. This is an anomaly. This is abnormal that it didn't trigger multiple times. Okay. So from 76.60 to 77.60. Now the target's 77.80, which it hit. But I'm just saying from 76.60 to 77.60. That's $1,000 per contract traded. When the price of crude oil moves $1, that's worth $1,000 per contract traded. When gold moves $1, that's worth $100 per contract traded. When silver moves $1, that's worth $5,000 per contract traded. So over $1,000, $1,200 to be exact. All right, we got 2 more markets. Silver. Silver opened, ran to the target, and now it's just kind of, see, we had this huge $5,000 per contract move yesterday. And so after a wide range day like this, it's not uncommon to see a day of quiet sideways consolidation before the market either moves higher or collapses. Okay? But it did run to the target. And then we got above the BBC. We had blue and climbing. 2 pennies is $100 per contract traded. This candle right here opened at 24.23. And it ran up to 24.30. That's 7 pennies, $350 per contract traded in that 130-minute candle. All right, last but not least, the euro. Euro opened, came down to the zone, found support, and it gave you a chance to get your goal for the day on the way up to the target. Once. Twice. Now we did trigger a little bit, but that little trigger is not quite enough to get your goal for the day, which again is why you want to get it on the way. Okay, same thing here. Now on this one, remember, once it triggers, it's probably going to trigger again 1, 2, 3, 4 times, and then 5. The 5th one did go all the way to the target. From 985 to 71.25. If you trade the euro, you get a big smile on your face. And then when we got below the BBC, we made a run at the target, pulled back to the BBC, the pullback held, and then we ran right to the target. Again, your goal for the day times a few. And that brings us back to the daily chart, which almost seems frozen in time. Wall Street traders are coming back from that 3 martini lunch, so we may see some activity between now and the close. Just keep in mind where the obstacles are. High of the day, 39.1875. The 38% reverse fib, 39.42. And then the daily BBC at 39.59. And then the 24% fib extension. Not easy, but it can be simple. And I hope I've shown you just how simple it can be. So you know where to go, you know who to call. Let's wrap up with our good word for the day. Hal says 6E, below that string of touches, where would you have your entries? Well, let me show you. Well, as long as price is below the BBC, I'm not considering going along. Once price moves above the BBC, if I'm building a green candle, I've got blue and climbing below me. So as price moves above the BBC, you could have got long right around here at 106.870. From 870 to 980, that should go for the day and then some. Price pull back to the BBC, starts printing a green candle, same thing. Price gets below the BBC, then it gets back above the BBC and back above red and falling. There's your goal for the day again. And then this one I would have stayed away from because red and falling was in the picture. Now it looks like red and falling is going to hook up and turn to blue and climbing. Once this thing turns blue, then I go long. Now, wherever you're considering going long on this candle, or this candle, or this candle, or this candle, or this candle, which you should wait, probably the next candle will turn it to blue and climbing. On your 7-tick range chart, you're looking for the same thing we look for on a 30-minute chart. For price to pull back to the BBC, the pull back to hold, followed by an up close, and then you enter on the open of the next candle on your 7-tick range chart. Does that answer your question, Hal? If you have another question, type it in because I'm going to wrap this thing up here. And or book a one-on-one mentoring. That answered it very well. Thank you. Thank you. Guys, we invite your questions. Okay, that's how you learn, by asking questions, just like Hal just did. And Hal, book another mentoring session as soon as you have time available so that we can continue our progress, okay, of getting you on that consistent path. Yesterday we talked about, do you love God's Word? Today, I'm going to switch it up a little bit. Instead of worrying, stand on God's Word. Remember, guys, if you're a lifetime member, a passport holder, you have unlimited access to one-on-one mentoring sessions. So you heard me just ask Hal to keep booking sessions, and I implore you, if you have the access, man, I gotta be honest. When I started trading futures in 2006, if there had been such a thing as CFRN, where I could have been joined and had my hand held and taught and trained and given trades around the clock, we would not be having this conversation today. Because of all the toil and trouble and money lost that it took to get to this point, you know, I'd be sitting on the back of my boat somewhere with my toe in the water, or in my beach chair with my toe in the sand. However, God's always got a plan. And so I had to pass through those troubled times because he wanted to get me here so that I could say what I've said to you today and what I'll say tomorrow and the next day and the day after that and every time you book a one-on-one mentoring session. Instead of worrying, stand on God's word. Chronicles 32:7 from the Amplified. Be strong and courageous. Be not afraid or dismayed. Now, be honest. Are you always strong and courageous? Are you never afraid or dismayed? Then let me refer you to the Big Ten. You know, the first download to a tablet, thou shalt not lie. There are times in our life when we are afraid and we are dismayed, or we get a letter in the mail from some alphabet soup government agency and we're like petrified to even open the envelope. The worst thing you can do is let it lay on your desk for 2 days unopened. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or dismayed. God knew that letter was coming long before the person who sent it even knew you existed. He's got this. Put your faith and trust in Him. Don't be afraid. Question: have you lost your sense of peace? Sometimes we feel peaceful and sometimes not. It's a thing called life. Is your mind besieged with worry? It's not good. Affects your heart. Scientists say it can cause cancer. If so, begin to program your thinking with these Bible promises. Write them down, carry them with you, and read them regularly until they're written on the tablet of your heart. In other words, they're not just words on a page. They are something that you truly believe with every fiber of your being. Number 1, Psalm 121. The Lord Himself watches over you, stands beside you, keeps you from all harm, watches over your life, keeps watch over you as you come and go. That's powerful. Number 2, Psalm 9:10. Those who know your name trust in you. For you, Lord, have never forsaken those who seek you. Number 3, Romans 8:38. Our fears for today, our worries about tomorrow, even the powers of hell, nothing in all creation will ever be able to separate us from the love of God. Number 4, Jeremiah 15:20. They will fight against you, but not prevail. For I am with you to save you and deliver you. Number 5, Job 11:8. I hope you're writing down. I know you can't write down the whole scripture, but you know, the last one was Jeremiah 15:20. This one's Job 11:18. You can certainly scribble that down. You will be secure because there is hope. You will look about you and take your rest in safety. The next one, Psalm 4:8. I will both lie down in peace and sleep, for you alone, O Lord, make me dwell in safety. Number 7, John 16:33. In the world you will have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. Now, if you've got a red letter edition of the Bible, then what I just said to you is in red, because those words were spoken by Jesus himself. 2 Chronicles 20:15. Do not be afraid or dismayed, for the battle is not even yours, it's God's. See, when you become a believer, when you truly allow Him, accept Him as your Savior, it's not just about, well, great, now when I die I'll go to heaven. It's so much more than that. It's living life in a turbulent world filled with trouble, but having this incredible sense of inner peace. Being a Christian does not mean there won't be any storms. It simply means you can have peace amidst the storm. Number 9, Isaiah 43:1. Fear not, when you pass through the waters, they shall not overflow you. When you walk through the fire, you shall not be burned. Now, I'm not Tony what's his name, and I'm not asking you to walk on a bed of hot coals, nor is God, okay? But hopefully you get the idea. If not, study Isaiah 43. And finally, number 10, Jeremiah 39:17. I will rescue, declares the Lord. You will not be given into the hands of those you fear. Now, if you're a true believer, that's got to take some pressure off. That little valve, that little stress valve on the back of your head just went psh. The battle's not even yours, it's God's. And if they get you, He'll rescue you. You'll not be given into the hands of those you fear. I encourage you, friends. You know this archive will pop up on YouTube in a couple hours once they render it. Alas, what was the scripture for step 3? Hang on just a second and let me scroll up. Romans 8:38 and 39. Our fears for today, worries about tomorrow, even the powers of hell, nothing in all creation will ever be able to separate us from the love of God. That's the NLT translation. But the King James Version spells it out basically the same. Okay. I encourage everyone, if you didn't jot them all down as I was going through them, I'm not going to read the whole scripture, but I'm going to give you the scripture one at a time. Okay? Then you can look it up. See, that's good when you go to the Bible and you look it up. And then maybe you go to your concordance and see what some of the words meant in the original Greek. That's called Bible study. When you hear people talk about being in God's Word, digging in. All right, you got your pen, you got your paper, you got your keyboard. Number 1 was Psalm 121, verses 5 through 8. And I was reading there from the NLT translation. Number 2 was Psalm 9:10 from the NIV. Number 3 was Romans 8:38 and 39 from the NLT. Number 4 was Jeremiah 15:20. That was the New King James Version. Number 5 was Job 11:18 from the NIV. 6 was Psalm 4:8 from the New King James Version. Number 7 was John 16:33 from the New King James. Number 8 was 2 Chronicles 20:15 from the Amplified. Number 9 was Isaiah 43 verses 1 through 2 from the New King James. And number 10 was Jeremiah 39:17 from the NIV, the New International Version. And that, my friends, is our good word for the day. Thanks so much for tuning in. Whoever you are, wherever you are, may God continue to richly bless you with His mercy and with His grace. And I'll see you at the bell.
Remember this, there is no greater return on investment than to see a human life changed and given hope. As always, pray hard and trade safe. Any financial information discussed on this show is simply the opinion of our host, Dwayne Reeves, his co-hosts, and guests. To learn more about trading E-mini futures or to take a 1-week free trial in our live trading room, call 1-866-928-3310. 866-928-3310. Information discussed on this radio program should not be construed as a recommendation to buy or sell any security. Always do your own due diligence and consult with a licensed securities broker or financial planner before making any investment decision.